The content discussed in this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and should not be construed as financial or mortgage advice. Always consult with a licensed professional before making any decisions regarding mortgages or financial matters.
Welcome to the Canadian Mortgage Show. Here are mortgage professionals Alex Pang and Alex Shanks to cut through the BS and educate Canadians on all things mortgages and real estate.
Welcome to another episode of the Canadian Mortgage Show. I'm your host, Alex Pang, alongside my co-host, Alex Shanks. So we've been away, right, Alex?
I've been in a little bit better of a place than you. If anyone's watching the video, you might not tell that I was in a hot country, but for the last 2 weeks, I've been traveling in Mexico with some family. And then I know you were at some pretty cool things this past week as well, Alex.
Yeah, we had spent 4 or 5 days in Toronto because my wife and young son went to see Taylor Swift. So me and my oldest, we tagged,
saw the best team in the NHL.
Oh yeah, we also caught a Leafs game, but we wore Canucks jerseys, and we were trying to achieve what we got you to do in Vancouver, but didn't get that much of a reaction. But that was the best part, getting quite the reaction in Toronto with Leaf fans seeing us Canucks jerseys. Yeah, they walked by and said, "Ew, what the hell is that?" And then we were walking up the stairs, our nosebleed seats. One guy said, "F the Canucks," with a smile. And we're like, it's all good. So it was actually quite a good time. Yeah. Being heckled by fans.
Nice. And did the Leafs win that night?
Yeah, they won. Just scored a few goals, so we were cheering for the road team and stuff. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, and then how was T Swift? How did the family come away from that?
Yeah, my youngest son is a Swiftie. I'm pretty sure it was the best day of his life. So my wife tagged along and she had a good time too. Yeah, it was a long day for many because our hotel was in Richmond Hill, which is, for those of you in BC, it's like Burnaby to Vancouver. And we had to drive in, and rather than driving back and forth, both of us spent the whole day in downtown. So it was a long day for me. Yeah, me and my oldest, we watched a movie. Yeah, I caught the Leafs game, had dinner, and then went to the rec room, like an arcade that's right beside the Rogers Center, to kill the time, wait for the concert to be done.
The concert to end.
Oh, yeah. Then we drove back to our hotel. Of course, there's wine down time. We didn't get to bed till 3 a.m., so it was a long day for us.
Yeah, that was our travel day. We traveled back from Mexico on Thursday. We left Mexico, flew to Vancouver that night, got in around 11 p.m., stayed at the hotel at the airport with kids who are screaming excited that they get to see airplanes through their hotel room. I think they all got to bed around 1. I think I went to bed at 3 as well. I ordered some room service, had some cheesecake in bed, and then we were up at 4:30 in the morning to catch the plane. So I think I slept for an hour.
Yeah, traveling sucks. I hate it. I can't even sleep on planes. They say to take melatonin. I've traveled once and I took melatonin. My body fought it so hard that I couldn't sleep, but I felt so groggy and I felt terrible afterwards. I'm like, I'm hurting. But,
I used to fly a lot and I could fall asleep like all the time, but it was without kids. So it was a very easy, you just get to watch a little movie, have a drink and fall asleep.
Yeah. And I guess you with young kids traveling, you just hope that they don't have a meltdown on the plane. I'm like, okay. God. And then everyone, you feel the stares from people and people understand. It's like, oh no.
I had the stewardess come back because I was trying to rock my youngest to sleep and he was screaming. And she's, do you want some help? I know how hard it is. I'll rock him for you. I was tempted to pass him over.
So tell me, you spent 2 weeks in Mexico. Is 2 weeks too long? I've always traveled. I've only been a week and I found that a week was enough.
10 days is like the number that I do usually like. Now, this is the first time for us for traveling with 2 kids. And it was like amazing time being there, but we were done. We were chasing around a 5-year-old and a 2-year all day long. It was pretty exhausting.
Yeah. As like later on, when you go to these resorts, some places have kids programs. But of course, they have to be a minimum age, so it's not like a daycare service. So I think it's 5 to 7 years old is when they have these kids programs. So you're probably buying time, so when they get to that, you can just dump them off and all day and see you kind of thing.
Yeah, I think next year our youngest will be a little bit older and it'll be even better. We actually stayed up in the mountains instead of on the beach, and that was really cool. But everything is on a slant. All the walkways are on a slant, and he walks, but he's not the smoothest walker yet.
Oh, and then later on when we travel with my parents, so that You bring the babysitters along, so we alternate days, and oftentimes we go on a cruise. If they're tired, just go take a nap, and we'll see you later, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's where we're on a cruise for my mom's birthday in March, and that's we're excited for that because there will be some caretakers, so at least me and my wife can maybe go away for an hour.
Yes, amazing. Guess what? We've been away for a couple weeks, but you guys, viewers or listeners, have had the benefit of listening
Didn't
to
even notice.
episodes. Yeah, because we have some pre-recorded. Full transparency, we did know ahead of time, so we had some pre-recorded episodes released, so you guys don't miss us too much. But guess what? We have a jam-packed show. What do we got? You want to start us off, Alex?
The first one are finally seeing some home sales are up. It's 7.7% month over month in October. It's nice to see that there's some more activity in the market, which has been, obviously there's been more chatter that interest rates are going to be coming down. But what's going to happen after some of the news that we did get here as well, Alex?
Yeah, so inflation also came in. It went up a bit to 2% in October. The previous month of September, it was 1.6%, right? So it did go up a little bit. Of course, it was due to higher gas prices and property taxes and base effects. Essentially, base effects is the 12-month rolling average, and whatever happened 12 months ago is like rolling off or increasing and such. But you wanted to mention something.
And everything like inflation it's compared to October of this year compared to October last year. Now, the funny thing, and inflation actually probably would have been more like 1.8, but every other province in Canada, their gas prices were lower in October than last year. But Alberta increased because they added some other taxes to it. And so that actually brings the average up. Because it's our baskets for inflation is compared over the entire provinces as well. And it's just funny seeing that it increased because of Alberta.
I have a pet peeve that I want to share. While we were in Toronto, gas prices was $1.48. But here in BC, it's $1.72. Why the difference?
Yep.
Is this a carbon tax or is it like, man, just...
My dad was in Winnipeg and it was $1.33. Like it's Vancouver, I can understand in the cities. Hey, there is a tax on that. But on the island, again, I can understand it. Hey, they have to ship it over. But like when you're talking about on the outskirts and stuff, I don't understand why BC is so different than the other provinces.
Yeah, it's just crazy. That's why I live by the border. So you can poo-poo on me, but I have Nexus and I go down to Blaine and I fill up my jerry cans. Yes, I'm not supporting Canada, but hey, I'm supporting my family budget. It's cheaper. I save 20% going down. So I know there's enough people that do it. And I'm hearing those of you out there is like, support Canada. I'm like, yeah, but if there's something cheaper you're 20 minutes away, I'm going to go.
It's our gas. It's our oil. We're sending it to the US. We're just not smart enough to actually do it here. We give it to them so that it gets back and we have to pay more for it.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, with the sales going up in real estate and inflation going up, that kind of lowers the odds of a 0.5% rate cut on December 11th, right?
Yeah.
Leland.
Yeah, that's the 0.5%. I was, like I said, I was surprised when we did it in October there. But now that it did happen, I just can't see them doing it again on December 11th. The data doesn't support it now.
Yeah, it's more than likely it's just going to be a 0.25% cut on December 11th. Yeah, I think that's pretty much a foregone conclusion. Now, I would be surprised if it's 0.5% or 50 basis points, but yeah, more than likely it's a 0.25%. Now, something just got released today was Big Five bank projections for interest rates between now and the end of next year. And it wildly ranges. I don't know if you've seen it, but there was a graph. It looks like RBC is more aggressive in their outlook, whereas Scotiabank was more conservative. And it ranges from anywhere from 0.75 to 1.75% in additional cuts between now and the end of next year. So right now, we're looking at the key lending rate. Again, key lending rate is not what people borrow, what you borrow. So we're looking at a prime rate of anywhere from 5.2% all the way down to 4.2% as a prime.
Yeah, so right now we're at 5.95. 5.95 is what we're at right now. And so if we drop by another 0.25, but let's just say, hey, it's going to be 1% drop. That's where we'll be sitting at maybe 4.95 or potentially down to 4.25.
Yeah. And then now that we're looking at banks doing prime minus half, prime minus 0.9 or whatever, we're looking at by the end of next year, variable could be in the low fours. Maybe
and that's,
high threes.
with some of this news that we're getting, the way that fixed rate mortgages, as we tell everyone, they're based on the bond yields, and those actually skyrocketed last week. I was like, oh my God, got a bunch of rate holds in for people to secure the rate so that if anything happened. Right now, we haven't really got much move that rates are increasing because it did drop a little bit. But have we hit the peak of fixed rates? Are they going to go down anymore?
We've talked about this before in previous pods that the bond yields is a kind of a predictive indicator of what the Bank of Canada or what the Fed ultimately does. And the way the forecast is working is that the terminal rate is when they're done cutting is around the end of next year or early 2026. So, based on that kind of logic, we are guessing, anticipating end of summer or early fall is when the bond yield should be at the lowest. When people are to lock in, that would be the moment. Now, could it change? Yes, forecast could change. We'll talk about it later in this episode, but there's a new president in the States, so that affects a lot of things.
Yep.
But yeah, let's first talk about stuff up here in Canada. Good old JT Trudeau, he posts a video about wanting to slow immigration.
I just don't understand it. The video is like saying this is what's happening. All he could have just said is hey guys, you know what? We messed up. We thought we needed to bring more people in. We were trying to build up the GDP. We were trying to run stuff through. We messed up. We brought too many people in. That could have been the end of it. It could have been such an easy thing, but it went into this, this is why it happened. No, not an apology, not a sorry at all.
Thinking back about apologies, I only know of one time a politician or anybody in the public eye actually apologized. When Australia, their bank governor, or Bank of Australia, their governor actually apologized for saying, we are sorry. I
shouldn't have said those words.
Rates were going to be low for a long time and go borrow and spend. Tiff Macklem has not said that. So that's the only time every government politician that I've heard does not say sorry. They just spin it around to say, what we're doing is working. I'm like, you're the one that created the mess in the first place. And then there's another thing is that they're saying that the feds or the Liberal government are expecting 4.9 million people with temporary visas to voluntarily leave Canada next year. So you're saying Canada has 40 million people. Are we at 41, 42 million?
40.3 or something.
Some of that. So you're saying we have over 10% of our population is temporary immigrants in Canada? Isn't that like a crazy number?
And how do they know they're going to voluntarily leave? What is the indicators for them to say that? And it's if 4.9 million leaves, then it's shit. Should we keep letting people in? That's the data that they have seems to be so off of, if 4.9 million leave, we actually might be wrong and not letting more people in.
Yeah. And what if they don't leave? Do we have are you going to go as crazy as Trump in deporting? Do we have the resources to do that and such? Yes, you're right. It's going to be a gong show like you expected, but just like their expectations of, we're going to build how many million by 2030? Like the most you've ever built in a year was 274,000. That was in 1976. Yeah. Even if you were to have record-breaking builds every year, you have to do that for 6 consecutive years. And you're still going to be under by 650 grand. So
Now this one I really don't like. And we just saw the increase in inflation. And as everyone knows, the federal government is going to be removing GST from certain things. We'll dive into those things. This is just going to spike inflation because it is going to allow people, because they think it's going to be cheaper, to go and buy more things.
Mm-hmm. We'll be clear about it. This is not a removing altogether. This is just a GST holiday for 2 months from December 14th to the 15th. What it includes, restaurant and takeout meals, prepared foods and snacks, toys, video game consoles, alcohol up to 7%, I guess 7% alcohol limit, whatever it is. ABV. Children's clothes and shoes, car seats, diapers, and Christmas trees. Now, the last one kind of got me thinking. December 14th and Christmas, don't people normally buy their Christmas trees well ahead of December 14th?
I don't think so. I think a lot of people buy like the week before, to be honest. It's a lot. It's funny. It's actually this year, I feel that there's more people with lights out earlier. There's lights already in November. And so the problem I have with this one is the takeout meals. Like, why are we not doing anything to promote health in our government? Let's say, hey, we'll give a discount for healthy foods. We're going to give a discount for non-alcoholic drinks. Like, why are we promoting unhealthy things?
Like, here's another funny one. Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland said this 2-month GST holiday is meant to tackle the vibe session. What the hell does vibe session mean?
What? I don't know. I was hoping you could tell me. I
actually had to look it up.
Vibe is like, so what is it? So what does it mean?
So I looked this up on Wikipedia. It's a mix of two words of vibe and recession. So it's a disconnect between the economy of a country and the general public's negative perception of it. So basically what you're saying is your numbers or what you post is that the economy's doing well, we're doing what it takes, and we're coming back. But everyone is calling,
Everyone else is like,
call BS. Exactly. So I was looking through Twitter and everyone's, what the hell is vibe session? Are you just making up words just to sound?
I just thought it was hip? Like vibing out. Yeah, that's what I thought. It was just like, I'm going to be hip and I'm going to say I'm vibing. We're going to make it so that there isn't a recession.
Or like another person mentioned that vibe session could be like, we're in a recession, but the stock market is doing really well. But we're in a recession anyway. So it's not reality.
I mean, like Bitcoin is, oh my God, like why didn't I buy it again 2 years ago? Like everyone told me, because holy crap. Yeah. It is just, it's on a next level. And even I know when I talk to financial planners, I know we're going to bring on someone here soon, Alex, but it's even them. They're like, the indicators are just like everything is out of whack right now. The stocks and stuff should not be doing as strong as they are. Everything is a bit of, no one knows exactly what's going on. We have the changes in the US. Everyone doesn't know what's happening in Canada. And it's just a weird spot.
Yeah. On top of that, Trudeau's giving out the carbon tax checks, or is it, they're giving out $250 checks.
This is nothing to carbon. This is just a $250 check to help people out.
Okay. So $250 checks for those with incomes under 150K, because apparently a family income under 150K is now considered poor. Do you remember that day when making 150K as a family means you're pretty well off?
Yeah, it's a scary thought that once you're over six figures, you're not doing well.
Yeah, 150K right now meaning you're poor is, our country is broken. Yep. Man, like, now, this.
My thoughts with this, Alex, is why, instead of giving this out to everyone, because for other thing is, for one, like people as business owners, we can write our incomes down. I could show that my income is at 50K. So I'm going to get this, even though I could be doing quite well in my business. So people are going to get money that probably don't deserve it. Why do we not go to the food shelters? Give this money to the food shelters for the people that actually need it. The GST thing, anyone that's doing wealthy, a millionaire, they get that discount on everything as well.
And I heard enough chatter too that there's some segments of the population, like seniors, do not qualify for it, and they are not making 150,000. And so why are they not getting it? I don't understand that.
Yeah, I know that if this made people buy a vote for the Liberals, is $250, is that really what's going to change someone? And it really scares me that someone needs $250. Like that's going to make it or break it for a family. Like it's really scary to hear that someone needs that exact amount of money to survive right now.
To be honest with you, $250 probably doesn't even get you a bag of, like your grocery bill.
You can't give a full less than you can't even get a full grocery. Yeah. No, and that's where to me we're so far off at what's happening in the economy that it's laughable.
Exactly. And here's an idea. How about just remove this carbon tax and save everyone 100% of the money? That'll make a difference.
Did you not see JT's thing on that? And I understand. I am all here for climate change. I do think that we are doing things to not be good to our world, but we also could use some of our resources in Canada, use those to our benefits and say, hey, 30% of that needs to go to plan for this, the world. But what we're doing has no effects. And Trudeau came out and said, I don't care if you don't eat. That wasn't the specific words, but he said, it is more important to talk about our environment right now than people's money, which is, it has a place, but there's people that can't even buy groceries.
Yeah, it almost now the case of the climate change is more of a take care of your own house first before you figure out like sending out billions of dollars helping other countries. Yes, what's happening in Ukraine and stuff it affects, but we're struggling as a country. How about worry about your own Canadian citizens first?
Yeah,
I'm sorry this episode is turning into a ranting session.
We're ranting about that, but let's talk about a little bit of more negativity, a little bit more about this stuff going on with the BC developers in the Vancouver area. And there's another one going into receivership.
Yeah, the developer called Thin Properties has gone into receivership. Alex, do you want to explain the difference between receivership and bankruptcy? Does that mean they're bankrupt?
So receivership is at this point, they're trying to sell everything off still. Someone, let's say, hey, if you had $305 million sitting around there, Alex, you could come and buy it and then start to sell off the assets. It's not in the bankruptcy phase at the moment. They're trying to see if they can get anyone to give them the money, but they have to pay off debts. That's the first thing that has to happen in that scenario, but they're pretty much bankrupt.
Yeah, it's pretty close to the court document said that, they, like Alex said, they have about $305 million in debt, and the owner of Thin, or the funder, is it called Kingslet or whatever that?
No, I don't even know.
Yeah, they're going to be fine, but the investors they're not paying out any dividends to their investors for until 2026, and they're not allowing any of their investors to
can't pull any money,
to cash out. Yeah, so that's
the one scary thing about REITs is like REITs. I remember this happened 2 years ago too. That I can't remember what REIT, but it locked down from people from selling.
Is Romspin? Is that what it was?
Yes, yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. And that's we just keep hearing the problem is these prices of them just skyrocketed. The development fees have just gone bananas, and everyone has to make money. This is the world that we live in. They have to make a profit. But now it's cheaper for them to stop these projects. Other people may have bought into this and they could lose everything.
Yeah, and Thin is not one of these smaller developers. It's actually a fairly large developer, and they had multiple projects in the Lower Mainland. And there is chatter that there may be more trouble with other developers coming soon. So this could be a tip of the iceberg. Now, Thin is in BC, and Toronto has a much bigger pre-sale, pre-construction happening there. So this could be quite the bloodbath in Toronto. We haven't heard of it yet, but things are brewing.
Yeah. And it's in Mexico though. They're just building like crazy. There's apartments, which the area that we stayed, it's sad seeing it. It used to be like a quiet little town, and now there's just apartment buildings everywhere. I saw Bosa Developments. They were there, and it's just turning into an apartment civilization.
What you mentioned about development fees being high. One thing that I noticed, I saw this is a few weeks back, but one city that has been spearheading this to promote investment is Vaughan, Ontario.
Yeah.
They've actually voted to decrease development fees. And Vaughan, Ontario, thank you. Thank you for being the pioneer of this. Please tell every municipality to do the same, because that's a barrier to entry. Developers, it doesn't pencil with all the development fees the way it is. It started off like we're talking like, geez, 15 years ago, maybe. Development fees was maybe 15, 20,000, something like that. Now it's shot up to 150, 200,000. And guess what it does to prices? We say that developers need to pay. They don't pay. It always passes on to the consumer. These little shoe boxes in the sky, 500,000. So Vaughn, thank you for doing that. Other cities, wake up.
Yeah. And the government, listen to this. If you allow them to reduce that, say, hey, this has to be, you have to guarantee this is passed on to the consumer. Say, hey, this is the discount. Let's say if you still built it for 500, we've reduced your fee by 50,000. That is now 450 for the consumer. Mm-hmm. It allows them to still build it because the overhead cost is substantially lower.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We got a lot of stuff to talk about in the States.
It was weird being in Mexico because there's the Canadians, there's the US down there, and some people would come up and be like, hey, you from US? And you hear this talk about people not wanting to be in the US. Honestly, I had 5 people say, how do I get into Canada? They're from the US, they don't want to be there. They started saying something that I do not believe is true. They're like, your prime minister is saying that we have to bring $2 million in cash to be able to come to your country. I'm like, I think you guys might be making something up there.
And besides our current prime minister, he's probably not going to be sticking around for that much longer.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it definitely boosts the markets, but in a sense that doesn't, like, for what people want to see for interest rates and everything, it doesn't bode well that way. And there's some other stuff that we're going to talk about in a little bit that really could affect some of the future expectations. Yeah.
So I guess with Trump winning, by boosting the markets, I guess I was talking to a financial advisor about this, and our guest next week will get into more detail, but the markets like stability. And I guess having a president brought stability to, is it Kamala? Is it Trump? And by having Trump win, there was more confidence in the marketplace because I guess Trump's platform is to promise to cut corporate taxes and reduce government bloat. And that, in a sense, is inflationary. All the things that he's doing to protectionist society, deporting illegal immigrants, lowering taxes, promoting jobs, all that stuff. So I guess that's how the market reacted. Will it last? I guess we'll see.
And then what's this new, the Department Government of Efficiency? This is, I feel like I'm in a bit of a comic with some of the stuff that's happening with Elon Musk coming in and everything. Like it almost doesn't feel real.
Yeah. So Trump appoints Elon Musk and this gentleman named Vivek Ramaswamy. He's a billionaire entrepreneur to head his new Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, as you call it. So
Dogecoin,
I guess
going to the moon.
Yeah, Dogecoin. So I guess he's having them help reduce government bloat. So they are talking with, we've talked this in previous podcasts about Argentina's Prime Minister Javier Milei, where he essentially flipped the table over in terms of their country, about fixing the country and cutting government bureaucracy. And Javier Milei has done that. These Elon and Vivek are going to be talking with him how they can do it in the States as well. So it got us thinking too, is Canada can learn from this. And we can do the same thing. If we had a Doge in Canada, who would you appoint if you were Prime Minister, Alex?
I don't know. I see some of the names that you put on here for us, and I don't, it's the thing is I do want a business person, and what they're doing is, if anyone knows, Elon Musk bought Twitter, which is now X. It had, how many extra employees did it have? It had an insane amount of employees. He cut 90% of the workforce. It is running the exact same thing. It is making more money now. And he can show that there's a lot of redundancy in things. And the government has way too much redundancy. We're paying people to do stuff. 5 people are doing the exact same job, say, which is, hey, I don't want to hear people losing jobs, but it's costing us billions of dollars.
Yeah, we just have too much government bloat. And for those of you who had to call CRA, not to pick on you, CRA, but other forms of, the service is not improved with more staff. And 1 in 4 people in the workforce work for some sort of government body, that's too much.
Yeah, it's not sustainable unless the government just keeps borrowing their own money and we just keep running I don't know, I don't even know what the Canadian deficit is now. It's just insane and it's never coming back.
So I put these names on our agenda here. Hey, Kevin O'Leary or Jim Pattison. I don't know. Any other billionaires? The Aquilinis or Maple Leaf Group, or I don't know.
It's so interesting when you talk to people in the Ontario way, and they call it old money. There's so many rich people, like deep rich people, but they're so quiet there. Like they don't have the show of other people. And that's why they never would do it, because they're just doing stuff behind the scenes.
Yeah. They don't want to be in the public eye and the public scrutiny and all that stuff. And then who's the media moguls in Canada? It used to be Conrad Black, but all the whole scandal about that. Yeah, who knows? Yeah, something recent came about is Trump also is planning to apply tariffs on imported goods into the States. China 10%, Mexico and Canada 25%.
And I understood tariffs before, Alex, but I dove into it about 2 weeks ago just because I wanted to understand it a little bit more. Do you understand why they do the tariffs on it? What the reason is for that?
No, you should probably explain it to the viewers in the audience.
It's a very interesting thing. It's the way that someone explained it is like, hey, me and you we're giving each other deals, Alex. We sat together and, hey, you sent me a deal. I never sent you anything. A year goes later. Hey, you sent me 20 deals. I maybe sent you 1 deal. 5 years go by. You've sent me 1,000 deals. I've sent you 5. There's a massive discrepancy. You keep sending me all these deals. I'm not sending anything to you. And so that is where you start adding a surcharge to it. You're going to keep sending me those deals, but you're going to start adding a charge to it now. When I send you that deal, and so it's Canada gets a lot of stuff from the US. We do import stuff there to them, but they want the US to be buying in the US. They want people to stop buying from Canada. And if you want to buy from Canada, you're going to have to pay an increased price for it.
The way that they sound, the tariffs is, yes, it's going to hurt Canada, but it's also going to hurt the American people too. Because a lot of goods come from China. There's a reason why clothing is cheap or whatever you buy online or from Amazon, because it's made in China. Let's call it a spade. So now your item that was $10 will now be $11. So it's not that China is going to be hurting. It's just, it's going to be hard to buy things if you're an American citizen. And
this is the bit of a fear, like even before when the Bank of Canada dropped before the US, the fear was the US dollar rules all. Like everything is based off the US dollar. That's what everyone compares to. And we buy a lot of stuff from the US, but we have to buy in Canadian dollar. And we now have to pay an increase because our dollar just keeps going down and down, which will import inflation, which then is, again, negative for us because higher inflation, higher interest rates.
Yeah. And what Trump said about imposing that tariff on Canadian goods is the reason is to be in place until the two countries clamp down on the drug issue, specifically fentanyl and illegal migrants crossing the border. And whether he's actually going to do it, we'll see. But it's one of those, the Canadians, should we treat it as an empty threat? We still need to treat that seriously because he's almost like a wild card because he's not a traditional politician.
I think I think, and fentanyl we know in Canada is just running rampant. In the downtown Vancouver, it's so scary. And they have shown that a lot of it is coming from the government. And to put that down on someone to say, hey, you need to get this under control, it could happen. And I don't like the guy. I'll give him props on that. If that's something that he actually did because of that reason.
Yeah, he's definitely doing things. He's definitely being bold with his moves. Now, like him or hate him, if it ends up being like it improves the country, then I'm all for it. You may not like the person, but you might end up liking the result of it. Don't call me a Trump supporter, one, but I'm coming around to it. Let's hope there's a silver lining to this. Yeah, no, I'm not going to wear a MAGA hat or anything anytime soon.
We'll see it. Like you said, the scary thing is he is that wild card. There was some news coming out with Putin, with everything that Canada, the US has done for Ukraine. They're getting upset and they're starting to say, hey, you've now pushed the NATO rules and you are now coming into our space and we are going to retaliate. And that is, we know back in 2022, when rates were still down, what happened? When the war did happen, boom, inflation skyrocketed, rates went up. And that is the fear. We're in uncharted territories at the moment. It's, hey, we want rates to come down. But if anything changes with oil and if we get into a war with Russia, everything's going to increase.
Yeah, ever since these tariffs were announced or planned announcement, that's probably one of the reasons why the bond market came down with fixed rates coming down, because there's the fears of that happening. And I'm probably on Twitter a lot more than you, but I'm seeing every single politician, whether it be a mayor or premier, prime minister, like, we will fight back. So who knows with these trade wars with Canada, Mexico, and China, how, like, politically, how it would affect us with our country and the economies and stuff. And that will definitely affect interest rates moving forward as well.
Yeah. It's,
so I guess in summary is we'll see.
We'll see. That's why I tell every person rates were looking like they were skyrocketing down. We got bumps and values. It's not going to be a straight down. It's going to go down. It's going to go up. It's going to go down. And that's where you just want to make sure that you're looking at all your options. There is not a one thing fits all. There's not a perfect thing. And so listen to the data, but look at all the different options. Don't just listen to one news channel. Don't just listen to Alex and Alex here. We're great. We're information, but make sure you're getting that other stuff. I sometimes force myself down that rabbit hole. So I'm getting like both sides of stuff because it's so easy to go down to the left side, to the right side. Is try and come into the middle.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think it's time for viewer mailbag.
Yeah, we haven't had it a little bit. Obviously, we were gone, and there was a couple different questions I saw. I got a few of these from Instagram, actually. And so the first one, which is, we have a lot of changes coming, but does the minimum down payment change with the new first-time homebuyer rules that are coming out on December 15th? I feel like there's chatter from people thinking that it's reducing or something.
No, so the December 15th, that's the one when the minimum, you can go to 1.5. Is that correct? Is that the rule change?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So what we've heard is that the down payment is like the scale stays the same. You can go to 5% on the first 500 grand and then 10% on the remaining amount up to 1.5 million. So that's for first time buyer and repeat buyer brand new properties. Now, I don't believe they've clarified if the insurance rate will change for the amount above $1 million to 1.5. As far as we know, it's still the same. It's whatever that the insurance is, I believe.
Yeah, hearing from some news, insurers did not want to go to 1.5. They wanted to go to 1.25. I'd put good money on it. There's going to be at least a minimum 0.25% surcharge, potentially higher. Like this is a lot.
Either interest rate increase or the insurance premium.
They're going to get their money somewhere. Yeah, they're gonna get it from somewhere.
Yeah. So,
but yeah, your
when we
down
find
payment.
out, we'll let you guys know.
All it means is you can buy above $1 million now without 20%, but it's still nothing else is really changing. Like, you're not going to be able to buy something with a 1% down payment.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. So next question here is, can I use the first time home buyer incentive for a down payment?
This is such an interesting one. I think I got 5 emails last week asking about this, actually. Now, for anyone that doesn't know, this was a program that the government created a few years ago. To be honest, I think out of all of Canada, 50,000 people used it. And all it was meant to do is, if you bring 5%, the government will give you 5%, but they also get access to the equity in your home. It was not an ability to increase your down payment. It allowed you to reduce your monthly mortgage cost. That was the only thing it did. These people were like, hey, well, I hear that there's a government incentive. I just get my down payment from them. We don't have anything like that in Canada. In Australia, they have a couple things where the government will give you your down payment. But in Canada, you got to come up with the 5%.
Yeah, even with the first time homes, the government matches, but you still need to come up with the 5. Yeah. You're correct.
Yeah. And it never worked in the city. It was such a bad program.
Yeah, most people I looked at it, they don't want to have the government be on title for the property. So it's thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah. And this one. I think, I love this one. It's the one where we've been talking about Canada and US here. And these people, I heard in the US, you don't have to pay any penalties for changing your mortgage. I'm thinking they mean by refinancing or breaking the mortgage.
Yes, I heard that. It is true. There aren't penalties for breaking your mortgage like here in Canada. The one caveat is there are more setup fees involved when you get a mortgage. So while it seems like a better deal, but you pay more upfront. And in the States, it's different, where most people take 15 or 30-year mortgages and that's it. In Canada, we go by amortizations, but we go from anywhere from 1 to 10-year mortgage terms, and we renew it. Now, most people maximum they go to is 5 years. I have yet to see in my day anybody take more than 5 years, either 7 or 10. We don't advise it. 5 is the longest. Lately, the last couple of years has only been a 3-year fix because rates fluctuate and
rates have been decreasing. Yeah,
exactly. So it is a different system here in Canada than the States.
Yeah, that one, I do know, I've seen some of the numbers because I've worked with some US people. It does. There's their fees. Our closing costs are usually like lawyer fees and stuff. You're talking like maybe $3,000 max. Theirs is average on $6,000, but we have penalties in Canada. We can talk about 25 to 50,000. So it is a lot more. You can break your mortgage as many times as you want there, which is great when rates are going down because you can say, hey, I got a 5% rate. Oh, I want to get a 4% rate. In Canada, there's times where it makes sense to break your mortgage, but it's not. You can't break your mortgage every 0.5% or you would just go bankrupt.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a different system in the States than it is to Canada. But yeah, we had a great episode. You got anything else that you want to touch on?
No, I think that was a good one, Alex. It's good getting back into the seat, trying to talk. We'll get back into the grooves of things for everyone, and excited to keep going.
Sounds good. Thanks for tuning into this episode. On behalf of my co-host, Alex Shanks, I'm Alex Pang. We'll see you next time.
Talk to you later.
Now, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to like and subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, make sure to follow us. Please give us a 5-star rating. You can even send us an email because we want to know what you guys want to hear about. That's what we're here for. Reach out anytime.